Well, thank you once again for joining us for this next episode of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance podcast. We're very fortunate to have joining us today Representative Wenstrup from the great state of Ohio. So thank you so much, Representative, for joining us.
No, it's my pleasure. Glad to be here and glad to engage on this topic.
So Representative, together with, I believe, Representative Kelly, you recently introduced the Family Saving Flexibility Act, which would increase the amount of money allowed to be rolled over for unspent flexible savings account and increase contribution caps for health saving accounts and certain types of flexible savings accounts as well. Now, what exactly does this mean? And could you help explain to our viewers, some of the differences between these plan types and what exactly your bill would achieve?
Yeah, gladly. And if you don't mind, I'll give a little bit of a history, first.
Absolutely.
With so much going on in the world with the COVID-19 virus, has really thrown off a lot of people's healthcare plans, and it's just thrown off healthcare in general and care for our children, et cetera. And so what we're trying to do is mix practicality with reality, the reality of what's going on in this world. And so with this process, we're trying to make healthcare more affordable, childcare more affordable, all those things that go into keeping your family healthy. Let's put it that way. And we prefer to use pre-tax dollars rather than government programs and have people have the greater affordability for the care that they need. With an FSA, a flexible savings account, it's a use it or lose it process. So you have a time period, you contribute during that time period, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So people try to budget to that. They contribute based on what maybe the previous year looked like for their family, et cetera, and they try to max that out and match it as much as they can, because they'd much rather pay with pre-tax dollars rather than post-tax dollars. And sometimes it's your employer that's contributing to it as well, which is an even greater benefit. So, with, for example, that health flexible savings account, you can pay for out-of-pocket expenses, you can pay for your co-pays, your deductible, for your prescriptions, for equipment that comes with that. And then with the dependent child, you can pay for a lot of things that go towards their care on a regular basis, such as childcare. And so obviously a lot of things changed with COVID because your hospitals were shut down in many ways. You could not get elective procedures, things you may have been planning on. Your child care resources were closed. All of those types of things changed, which completely throw things off. So we had written a letter to the Treasury early on asking for some changes in the plans that have been in place. And IRS did say, well, you can take your flexible savings account and extend it down to December 31st of 2020. But it also, allowed for some good things like using telehealth, and increased dollars allowed for COVID-related treatment. I know as a surgeon that the end of year demand on practitioners is huge, because for so many, they have met their deductible and they operate on a calendar year that's different from their FSA, et cetera. So they want to get this stuff done. And I know that as a surgeon, I was always busy come December through the new year. The demand was great. So extending it to the end of the year may be impractical too, because you may not be able to get the things done that you want to do because of that demand. So what we want to do is roll this over into next year completely. And with that, we want people to be able to increase their contributions to their health FSA. And so, for example, for the dependent child, the limit is $5,000. We want to increase that to $10,000, more in keeping with what it actually costs for these types of things. So this bill is bipartisan in nature. It allows flexibility. But when you look at all the services that have been cut this year, it's a great opportunity for reality to kick in and say, we can make some changes that are going to be better. You had the hospital shut down, elective procedures cut out. You had all these closures. We also in this bill address health savings accounts, which is again pre-tax dollars. Your annual contribution for that for an individual was $3,500. And for a family, it was $6,900. Well, we increased it to $6,900 for the individual and $13,800 for the family, which is much more in keeping with reality of what people end up paying a lot of times. So it gives them much greater flexibility there as well. And then again, going back to the dependent child at the flexible savings account, to increasing that from 5,000 to 10,000. So we think this is a great opportunity for, especially considering the circumstances, for people to have a greater opportunity to use healthcare dollars that are theirs, but it's pre-tax dollars, rather than developing government programs, more government programs for people. And I think it'd be greatly appreciated by most individuals and families that they can fall under and use these tools. And it just gives us a greater opportunity for a better healthcare system all the way around, and better health.
Absolutely. And I mean, this seems so common sense to me, even if it wasn't for what is going on with the terrible pandemic
Correct.
at the moment, because on one hand, you're empowering families to use their own money, which means that, they're empowered. But on the other hand, you're protecting taxpayers, because rather than another big government program that we can't afford, you're letting people use their own money. So this seems like a suggestion that should be, is wonderful at any time, but particularly given what's going on right now with COVID-19, it seems critical. Now, you mentioned this is a bipartisan bill, and I know that you have a few co-sponsors from the other side of the aisle, which is great, that we're sort of overcoming some partisanship to get some policies that'll be good for the American people happen. So how can we also, and how are you appealing to lawmakers on all sides to try and expand this support?
Well, let's be realistic in the fact that I think both sides of the aisle, one way or another, realize that healthcare is a priority for us as a nation, as it should be. I've always said the health and safety of our citizens is paramount. How do we do that best is always going to be debatable, I think. But I think in these situations, you can understand where the more that people can do that feel comfortable being able to save and take care of themselves, it's even better, because a lot of people will budget with their healthcare. There's no doubt about it. And if they can invest more pre-tax dollars into these programs, they're more likely to take better care of themselves, for one, because there is some money out of their pocket that goes towards this, albeit pre-tax dollars. And so you're also going to be more inclined to, if something's going on, you take care of it, nip it in the bud. But when you run into these dilemmas of not being able to go to work because you can't afford the childcare and things like that, that is defeating. And to me, work goes hand in hand with our health. Everyone has a need to feel essential. Everyone has a need to be part of something, sometimes whether they know it or not. And most people feel better at the end of the day when they say I've done this and I've earned this. And we want people to fulfill that human need that they have to be able to go to work and at the same time get the health care that they need.
Absolutely.
And be able to afford it.
Absolutely. And could you just maybe, just in case some of our viewers are still slightly confused about the different acronyms and the different account types, maybe just as my last question, provide a sort of more practical example of what this would mean for a family who is thinking about healthcare during the COVID-19 pandemic, and what would change for them as this occurs, if you're last.
Yeah, what would change for them is this money that they put aside for healthcare that many were unable to use because of the shutdown of healthcare services. It would allow them to carry that over and not lose it. And that's the thing with the FSAs, the flexible savings account. It's a use it or lose it proposition. So when you put money into this, you plan on trying to use it, and most people look at what they spent the year before. Was it normal year? How many times do your kids go to the pediatrician, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You plan on all these types of things, and those plans have been foiled. So your budgeting has completely been foiled if you weren't able to use the dollars that you put aside and lose it, and that's a problem. And you couple that with all that was going on with employment itself. And obviously, there's many ways we acted to try and keep employers able to keep their employees and employees able to keep their job, even if the work wasn't necessarily there for a while. So it's a combination of things. This is who would benefit the most for sure. But I think it also has a greater long-term benefit to implement things in a way that's more in line with reality of what costs are today.
Absolutely.
And I think that I never really like bills that have an absolute number to it, because our economy changes so much, especially over time. So if we don't respond to it, it sits and it's no longer functional unless we talk about things in some form of a percentage of economic reality. But be that as it may, we want to change it.
Absolutely. And I know we wish you the best of luck with this, and even hoping to expand these principles so even when this pandemic is over, people will still be able to have greater control over their own pre-tax dollars. And we help, again, protect families, protects taxpayers. This is absolute common sense. So my last question would be, what should our viewers who are watching this right now, who agree with this, want to help you and your colleagues make this a reality? What actions can they take? What would you recommend?
Well, advocating is always helpful. And whether it's groups like yours or individuals that reach out to their members of Congress, I think that's important. And as often as they can, talk it up. Tell their friends, hey, have you heard about this bill? Tell the parents. Tell the parents of your kids that are in child care with your children. All of those types of things, that's opportunity to spread the word and build the momentum for this type of change that people can understand and it can benefit them in their everyday lives.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you once again very much for your time, and thank you again for all you're doing to try and help both taxpayers and families and businesses during these difficult times.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks for your advocacy.
Thank you.